Hi guys! So, I wanted to do a Q&A because I've been getting a lot of questions lately. I kind of get them all the time, but I think because of the time of year it is, there's like more than the average. Questions around ghost spirits, paranormal activity, and kind of what to do when you are experiencing or when you think you might be experiencing that kind of activity, paranormal activity, ghost spirits. There's differences between these things, but there's also a lot of overlap, right? So someone had messaged me this morning, kind of inspired this, and was like, I think there's like a ghost and things are happening, and I think I just need to like go light some sage and get my space cleared out. And she was asking, what I thought she should do. Like, do I just like light the sage? What do I say? What do I do? And I am not a huge fan of using sage. Part of it is because I don't personally super resonate with it, but also because if you think about what you're doing when you use sage, it's an herb, and you light it, and the intention when you're using it, a lot of people believe the intention is to like clear the energy out of either your energy field or out of the space. So if you are in a space where you think there are spirits or other energies, to just walk into that space and light sage, it's actually kind of rude. It'd be like if you came home to your house and your roommate or your partner or your kid was there, and you just came in the house and you were like, get out, get out, get out, get out, right? Like, that would be kind of rude. A lot of the spirits and energies, not always, but a lot of the time, the things you're feeling or experiencing, it's been there. It's been there for ages sometimes. The land has energy. There are imprints. There's all kinds of stuff. And to just like willy-nilly go around burning sage, hey Bailey, good to see you. It's like if you went around spraying Lysol on everyone every time they like sneezed or something. It's a bit much. I hope these are helpful analogies. It's a bit much to just go in and like before even like assessing the situation thoroughly. Hey Heather. Before even assessing the situation, just being like, no, clear, clean, get out, go away. Like my space is like clean and clear and pure. And these other energies, like, they might not be harmful at all in most cases, not all, again. In most cases, they aren't. Sometimes the energy just wants acknowledgement. It just wants a thank you, like, hey, I'm in your space. A lot of times the land we're on has its own stories, and many things have happened in the spaces we are now living and working. And the more respectful thing to do is to take time to get to know where you are and what energies are there. So if you are feeling or experiencing something, it might be unsettling, but does it actually feel like dangerous, or is it just a new experience? Is something happening beyond the realm of what you would consider to be a rational event? And if it doesn't feel like deeply dark or sinister, then you're not in danger. And even when it does feel a little off, know that like you can set your own energetic boundaries. So rather than me bursting into a space and lighting sage and just constantly clearing the space and asking all the energies to leave, I come in with my own energetic boundaries already set. I put a bubble around myself. I allow my energy to really be my space, right? I don't try to assert myself into the space. I also don't invite other energies into my bubble until I've made contact, until I understand where I'm at and what I'm working with. And then I introduce myself to the space. I say, hey, who's here? What's up? Is it all right if I'm here too? Can we share space? Is there something you need? Is there something you want me to know? Now, if you don't feel comfortable doing those things, you don't have to. I mean, you could at least introduce yourself and like give an offering of some sort, or, you know, share your gratitude. But you don't have to open up the doors for a conversation if you don't want to. That's just if you're like already experiencing like a lot of activity going on. So I go in with my energetic boundary, I invite a conversation, and I see what unfolds from there. I very rarely light sage. Someone did reach out with a question about Palo Santo. Palo Santo is something I love. I experience its energy as having a different like role than sage. Sage is like highly intensely purifying and clarifying. Palo Santo is very uplifting. It brings in a sacred energy, but it doesn't necessarily like push anything else out. Palo Santo, the scent of it calms me. It's very relaxing. It's very loving energy. And so a lot of times when I am in a space or when I'm doing my own energy work, I do light Palo Santo and work with it, but you don't have to. Like, you don't, that's just medicine that found me and that I resonated with. Don't go out and buy Palo Santo just because like someone told you to. Find the things, like look in your own backyard, like pay attention if you want to work with sacred smoke. Find what calls to you and bring your own listening to it. Heather has a question. Can different energy follow you from one place to another? Yes, that can absolutely happen. Sometimes the energy is either like attached to us, or it meets us and likes us, and so like the spirit or whatever keeps hanging out with us. So things can follow people. Sometimes it's something like within that person's own energetic makeup that hasn't been fully integrated. It's not necessarily a separate energy. It could be kind of like how a lot of poltergeist activity, it's like the energy coming out of an individual in the space. So you can always get help if you are not clear on what you're dealing with. Reach out. There are professionals, and there are more and more of them. And so reach out to me. Reach out. My friend Narinder offers numinous communication sessions where she is really skilled at working with the energy of lands and other spirits and beings. My friend Janet Raftis and her partner Scott as well. Like, I know a lot of people just locally in Atlanta that are very skilled at assisting people if you're experiencing like paranormal activity or spiritual activity that you're not clear on and you're not clear on how to work with it. Always reach out for assistance if you feel like you need it, but also give yourself some credit, like trust yourself. As long as you're keeping your boundaries really, strong, like, hey, only what is in my highest good can come in my space. Don't just walk into a space and open the door. And that's where I take a little issue or umbrage with Ouija boards and things like that. I had a very unsettling experience when I was really young with a Ouija board. And they're not inherently bad in and of themselves. It's literally like cardboard, right? And a plastic indicator thing. It's how they're used, and they're often used like when you use a Ouija board, you're literally opening a door. Anytime it doesn't have to be a Ouija board though, right? Anytime you're choosing to connect or make contact with spirit, if you go into a place that you feel is haunted and you light some candles and you're like, ooh, what's here? Give us signs. Know that you're opening a door. And if you open that door before you've set your own boundaries, you've basically opened a door directly into, I invite energies to interact with me energetically. So you've actually invited things into your space that you don't know yet. So I keep my boundary and then I open the door and say, hey, you can come and like communicate, but like you can't come into my space. You can be in shared space, but like you are not welcome. Nothing can come into my energy field without my permission. And as long as you direct your will to that intention, you've set that intention, right? And there are very few energies that can cross that. And so when you're using a Ouija board, you're opening a door oftentimes, most of the time, without any boundary. And I learned the hard way not to do that. When I was 13, I was using a Ouija board with my friend, and it definitely started moving. And I was so freaked out, I made her take her hands off of it. I started to take my hands off, and it was like something pushed my hands back down on it. It was spelling out all kinds of stuff. There was a spirit that said her name was Zoe, and that she died dizzy in a maze, and that the person who killed her was my mother. Like my mom, like currently, like, but reincarnated, right? Because this was like in the 1800s or something, and I was like, what is this? This is crazy. And so I got freaked out, and we took the board, and I threw it in the trash can outside. And I made my friend like promise me. I was like, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. She's like, Leah, you like took your hands off. Like, I took my hands off. Like, that was not me. Well, the next day I get home, and the Ouija board is sitting on my bed. And I asked my dad, I asked my brother, like, did y'all take this out of the trash can? Like, why is it on my bed? And they didn't know anything about it, and I was like really freaked out. It was like one of those like horror movie feelings, like you walk in the bedroom and it's like sitting on the bed, and I was like, oh my god. Well, this is me not in my brightest moment. Instead of like freaking out again and getting rid of it again, I decided I would just do it by myself without my friend there. Even though I'd made her take her hands off, I was still like, I want to figure out what's going on. And so I sat on my bed, and it instantly started moving, and it was spelling things out, and it was saying all kinds of stuff. It was like that spirit Zoe was back, and it was telling me to like do things, and it was like, you know, you need to like lock your doors, and you're not safe, and like you need to, it was just crazy. It was a lot of stuff. I don't want to get into all of it right now, but so then I got freaked out again, and I took the board, and it's like cardboard that's like covered, and so like I was like peeling the cardboard off and trying to like basically like destroy the board, and I put it in a trash bag and took it back out to the trash and put it in the trash again. And I went to sleep, went to school the next day, came home. When I got home, the plastic indicator was sitting on my bed again from the board that I'd ripped up and put in a bag and taken out to the trash. And it was like mocking me. I was like, no, this like shouldn't be here. And I debated like, can I burn this? What do I do? I could feel this energy wanting me to like make my own makeshift Ouija. It like wanted me to use it. It was like, use me, use me, use me. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. And so I smashed it. I remember like jumping on it and like smashing it on my like bathroom floor with the tiles, and like smashed it up, and like I flushed. This was not environmentally friendly, I'm so sorry, but I flushed the broken bits on the toilet. And in the years since, that was like the end of it. Nothing like came back after that, but that was like twice in a row of like this Ouija board like popping up after I'd like thrown it away. And so that was really, really, really creepy. And the plastic indicator had been like in the trash bag, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I like put it all in the trash bag and tied it up and put it in the trash can, and it was back on my bed. So it was, and my friend hadn't been at my house that day. You know, it was just like, no one was pranking me. Like, this just happened. And in the years since, I've gotten really clear that spirits, like when you open the door, there are spirits that they're just like, they want to fuck with us. It's just fun for them. It's just funny. It's not always evil. Like, there are some there's definitely some like dark and demonic energy out there, but a lot of it isn't that bad. It's just messing with you. And it will do that when you open the door without having your own boundaries. Okay? So if you set really clear boundaries and you really want to use a Ouija board, do it. I'm not probably ever going to use one again, but I have my own ways of connecting. And I feel like over the years, it's actually become kind of an anchor point for the like kinds of spirits that want to like fuck with us and play around and like not necessarily have these enlightened messages to bring through. So you don't ever, if you feel like a spirit is trying to tell you to do something or push you to do something, you don't ever have to do that. You have your free will. You can set your terms and conditions. You can say no. Like, don't feel like just because it's coming from an unseen energy that like it means it needs to be obeyed. No. Never. And as you set really clear energetic boundaries, what happens is the higher vibrational energies are the ones that are able to come through. So you don't even have to deal with that. It's a lot cleaner energy that you get to work with, and it's clearer, more loving and uplifting communication. And if anyone watching has questions of their own, feel free to send them my way. I'm just talking to things that I've encountered over the years. Another thing a lot of people reach out with is like when their kids are talking to like a ghost or a spirit. And how do you handle that? Like, especially for parents, a lot of the parents I work with are obviously very open and they don't want to like shut down their child, but they're also a little like, I don't know how to handle this. Like my 3-year-old's talking to the wall or something. I often sense into whether is it a loved one that has transitioned that's showing up, or is it an energy connected to the land or the space? Like, what is actually showing up? Because a lot of times children do connect with grandparents and other relatives that have passed on. Even if the relative passed before that child was born, there are definitely kind of these like soul bonds and agreements that people make. And so sometimes there's a grandmother that's there watching over her grandchild, even though she never met that grandchild while they were living. Heather says, Mitchell talks to people at the ceiling. Yeah, people at the ceiling. It totally happens. Jonah, one day we were driving and he's like staring out the window and he was like, what was your grandfather's father's name? And I was like, why are you asking me that? And he was like, cause he's looking at me right now. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Well, tell him I say hi, like, hey there, like we can talk to our loved ones. And I don't want my child to be scared of that. And the less scared you are of that, the more open that communication can be. It can become like a lifelong thing. Like, hey, it's cool. I just like, grandpa drops in sometimes. My great grandfather like hangs out sometimes and like I'll see him. And that's actually a really sweet and beautiful thing. It doesn't have to be scary. Now, if it's something that doesn't feel as clear, you can either, again, call in professionals. Always call in professionals if you're not sure what you're doing. Like, don't ever feel like you need to open up a dialogue if you don't feel safe, okay? But if you feel pretty confident in your ability to hold your own energetic boundaries, you can ask for information. Like, hey, I see that my kid is, like, talking to someone, like, talking towards the wall, and a lot of times the kids will have information and they'll say like, oh, this is Billy or whatever. And so feel free to like, you ask like, hey, Billy, can you come check in with me? I'm the mom or I'm the dad or whatever. And, let me know what you need. Let me know why you're here. Like, give me some information and see what drops in. Like, I tell people this all the time. They're like, but what do you mean? Like, how am I going to get information? You will, like, you'll feel it. You just have to trust what you feel. It's not that hard. It's really, as long as you can get quiet, like, the problem is we question. We question so much what we feel or sense. Don't do that. Just assume that what you are sensing is not just your imagination, that actually it is what is, okay? So go ahead and trust what you're sensing, and then ask for more information. Ask for signs. Hold on, my child needs something. Yes, Jonah. It's fall break. You don't need anything? Oh, okay. Just saying, hey. Hey. So if you trust yourself, you'll sense things. You can also go down a rabbit hole if you're able to go research the land you're on, and if your child has more information, like a name or something, feel free to look up actual information. You don't have to just let it all come energetically, but they can leave signs, and they will send you a sense of like what they need. Like, but you have to trust what you feel. And some things they do is like lights flickering. That's one thing that can happen. The like stove coming on and off. If they're ever doing something that you don't feel safe with, again, a lot of spirits really are like friendly, and they don't necessarily need to be cleared out of the space. You just have to learn to work with them. And so if they're doing something that like puts your house or your child at danger, you can say, hey, please don't do that. If you need our attention, please like flicker the light instead of turning on the stove. Sometimes they'll do things like rearrange shoes in your closet, or all kinds of stuff. It doesn't have to be a scary thing. A lot of times they're just trying to like say hey in the ways they can. So if you say hey back, it opens that dialogue. And it doesn't have to be scary. It can actually be really fun and sweet. Kitty says, Heather says, ours like to unscrew bulbs and leave them next to the lamp. Yes. So they'll do things like that to like let you know they're there, or sometimes just to like engage, to like play with you. Any advice to reach a specific spirit? I'm trying to channel a client's grandmother today. Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a whole online course on that. If you really want to get in depth with it, I have an online course about connecting with the dead that walks you through all of the things that will make that much more easily possible. But it starts with just setting a clear intention, inviting that energy. It can help to have an object that connects that person to the deceased relative or loved one. It doesn't have to be an object that was owned by the loved one. In my experience, it's more important the connection, like an object that recalls the relationship rather than just an object that belonged to the person. Because if it was an object that belonged to the grandmother, but it doesn't really mean anything to the person who's wanting to connect, it's not going to help that much. The digital photo can work. I like to always have a name too. That helps me, because a lot of times they don't always tell me their name, because they're a lot of them are in a space where it doesn't really matter, and that's extra work for them, depending on how well the spirit or loved one is able to communicate and how long they've been transitioned. It can really affect how they come through. So sometimes just trying to give me their name can be too much work. So it helps if I already have the name. I'm like, just tell me who it is you want to come through, and we can invite them in and see if they show up. And then I pay attention to what I feel, because for me, and we all receive information in different ways, but for me, I feel things. I feel emotions, I feel sensations, and so a lot of times I'll feel the way they would hold their body. And so I'll let that happen. I very rarely let a deceased person come in through me. So when you say channel, I don't know if you mean you want to invite them in through you and speak as them. That's not something I would do with an energy I haven't gotten to know first, because it's very intimate, right, to let something in like that. If you just mean channel as in I'm communicating with, and there's a translator or go-between, or they're here, they stay here and they can communicate, and they can communicate through my higher self, they can communicate through one of my guides. Sometimes one of the deceased people that I have a strong relationship with helps the other deceased person come through. Using automatic writing. Oh, if she's being shy, then I would respect that, actually. Sometimes, though, I'll get a sense that they're hanging back. If you feel like she's showing up but isn't all the way here, it's usually that she's respecting, there's something unresolved with the person, and she's feeling that hesitancy because she doesn't want to infringe on the person's life. there's like a hanging back that can happen. But if she's just not showing up at all, then I would respect that, because sometimes they have to go off and do other things. And granted, their energy, and energy can be everywhere, but sometimes they have to choose to condense their particles somewhere because their soul is moving through something. And so we just need to respect that space. You can never guarantee that someone's going to come through. So you can invite them, but like if she's really not showing up, then she's not showing up. And we'll just try again another day, or be like, hey, give your loved one signs. Maybe sometimes they don't want to come through you. And like, don't take that personally, but it's like, no, I'd rather just connect directly. And so most of what I do is I don't actually do like mediumship readings. I just help other people connect with their own loved ones, because most of the loved ones that come through for me really want that direct, they want an ongoing relationship. They don't want to just, yes, I'm okay, here's my messages, let's clear up something, here's where the money's buried. You know, like, it's like, no, like, I'm still here actually, and I don't want to have to come through someone else. Like, I'm trying to connect with you because we have the relationship, and I want to continue that relationship. So like, it would help to like, people just need to know how to build these relationships, which is what I'm trying to do and share with people. But good questions, thank you. I'm trying to think of anything else I get, or anything, like, so much happens with this stuff. And in my experience, it's by and large been very loving and uplifting. Not to say that there's not some freaky deaky things that happen, because there absolutely can be, but like, I wouldn't even like go there until I felt really grounded in my own capacity to set my energetic boundaries. And then like, if I'm really going into something gnarly, I have backup. I have like professionals that like know what they're doing. Don't open the door to something you're not comfortable with, but do know that there's a lot of love out there, and there's a lot of playfulness, and especially if you're specifically trying to connect with loved ones, like, it's not something to be scared of. It's something to be excited about, and to trust what you feel, and to invite that in is absolutely okay. It's something we talk about at my house a lot. Like, Jonah and I really talk about how we can still talk to loved ones who have transitioned, and ways we can do that, and ways we can invite them into our home and into our space and help them feel welcome. So, yeah. Anything else that, if y'all have any other questions, let me know. I'm trying to think, what did we say we were going to talk about? To sage or not to sage? We talked about that. I'm not a huge fan of saging. Now, there are times you might need to sage. If you really feel like you need to, then do that. But I would typically sage after I first try to get a sense of like, wait, what's up? What's here? Like, don't be like coming into a space and taking it over, you know, like, yeah, we're here in our bodies, and like, this is our space currently, but like, it wasn't always our space. And so we need to respect what's here before us as much as we can. And if you get a heebie-jeebie feeling, and it's like a deep down heebie-jeebie feeling, then absolutely be like, get out, you're not welcome here. And then call in a high frequency of love. Call in light, like white light. You can call in the archangels. You can call in your own guides. Do whatever you need to like establish a sense of safety in your own space. Any special protections or advice for Samhain? Samhain, so that's Halloween, All Hallows Eve. It's the witch's new year, and it's a time when like the veil is very thin and the spirits are roaming. Although the more I do this work, yes, there's something to that, right? Like, it's a time of the year where we really are more able and open to connecting. But if you're someone that connects regularly anyways, it doesn't really make as big of a difference. Because like, I connect just as well in April as I do in October. So you should just, I'm a fan of good energetic hygiene at all times, not just because it's a certain time of the year. And this is me personal. Like, I'm just sharing what works for me personally. So like, if something feels different for you or better for you, then honor what feels right for you. The most important thing is to trust yourself and what you feel you need to do. But again, I'm less about protecting myself and more about having strong, clear boundaries. And I set those literally every day. Like every single day before I even get out of bed, I've set energetic boundaries for myself. Every single session I have with a client, I set energetic boundaries for myself and my client, or with my client. You know, I'm always teaching people how to set their own energetic boundaries. I'm always practicing good energetic hygiene. And so because of that, it stays pretty strong. Like I have my bubble, I have my bouncer guides. So I have guides that literally like go in front of me, and like there have been times like I haven't even been able to like walk into a room. Like it's almost like I hit a glass door and I can feel those guides. Like they have a different energetic signature than my other guides, and my bouncer guides will be like, no, you're not going in there. And I have friends who can and do go in those spaces. It's not my work in the world. I'm like, I respect it. I'm like, cool, I'm out of here. Like I'm backing up. So part of it is that I don't push. Like when I feel a no, when I feel resistance, when I feel my guides dropping in like that, sometimes it feels like they almost put chainmail around me. Like I literally feel like a curtain coming down. And it's because I've asked them. I'm like, help me have really strong energetic boundaries, because I am someone who opens to connect with energy pretty much every day. And because I maintain a certain amount of openness to certain frequencies of energy, I need really, really strong boundaries. So I have my guides help me hold that space. I have my own boundaries set. I'm always doing the Reiki, which keeps my vibration higher, because sometimes like if your vibration isn't supportive, if you're not nourished, if you're feeling depleted, also don't try to connect. Just don't do it. Bubble up. Like, don't try to open and connect. I will cancel sessions on days I'm not feeling my best, because it does leave you vulnerable. Like some of the denser energies can spiral. It can make you feel sick. If you start to feel sick, nauseous, headachy, if you start to just feel really like bummed out, have racing thoughts, feel clammy, any of that stuff can be indications that you probably don't need to go there. Like stop trying to connect, right? If you start to feel bad, the energies I connect with let me feel good. Like I feel nourished and energized and uplifted when I'm connecting with high frequencies of energy, with higher vibrational energies, with spirits who like love us and want us to thrive. If I start to feel like negative thoughts and ugliness, if I start to feel urgency or pushing, all of those are red flags, and I just, nope, close it down. Okay, guess what? You're not welcome in my space. Rarely things are able to even get through, but when I was younger and like less aware of how important it was that I maintained my energetic boundaries at all times, like I would go to a friend's house, I would go to a hotel room, and I would start to feel icky, and I wouldn't always know why, and then I would start to feel like, oh, there's something here. Maybe it was left over from the last person that stayed here. Maybe it's connected to the space. I didn't always know what it was. And so I would get curious, like, oh, I wonder what's here. But then sometimes that would like pull me into it more. And I've learned, nope, just keep my boundaries, keep my vibration high, keep my boundaries like tight and strong. And then anything that needs to connect, that truly needs to connect because it's going to serve me and or those around me in a positive way, can get through. And other things can't wonk my vibe. Patty says, fascinating. I enjoy learning about your processes. I'm so glad, Patty. So yeah, being sensitive to energy requires a lot of work, but it becomes like second nature for me. It's just like brushing my teeth. I set my energetic boundaries. At the end of the day, I'm like clearing anything that might have gotten through. I clear it off. I literally imagine like a shower of light coming down and just like cleansing my whole energy field. I Reiki myself to like just release anything that doesn't serve me and to re-nourish me, because you need to stay nourished. If you are going to be connecting with energies and spirits, you need to stay nourished, energetically, physically, all of it. So again, if you're feeling depleted, undernourished, it's easier for the yuckier energies to come in. So like, just, nope, I'm not gonna open today. Today I'm gonna like eat some ice cream and watch some Netflix. You know, I don't need to try to go there if I'm not feeling strong in myself and my boundaries. So, and it's not something you need to be scared of. I'm not trying to like make anyone feel scared. I just want good energetic hygiene is important. As a Pisces, meditative showers are awesome. Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm not Pisces, but I've got Neptune on my ascendant, so it gives me this like Piscean overlay. Very energetically sensitive. Shit ton of stuff in my 8th house. So, but that's astrology talk. I'm geeking out. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else? Let me ask. Are the spirits? Spirits, ghosties, all of you. Ghosties. That's a joke for me. I don't really like work with ghosts. I don't experience ghosts in the ways we do. Usually by that I mean spirits. There's also the imprint of trauma. They want me to talk about that. The imprint of trauma. So sometimes what a lot of people perceive as a ghost, especially if it's darker and like gory, or you get like an image or feeling of violence, it's not actually the spirit. Now sometimes there are spirits that don't like, we hear a lot about like helping the spirit transition or cross over, like go to the light. That is needed sometimes. By and large though, what people are feeling or experiencing or even seeing, hearing, tasting, sometimes you get a taste of blood in your mouth, it's actually the imprint of a trauma that happened. Whether that was a murder, a death, a soldier that died, you know, in the battleground. Here in Georgia, we've got like Civil War battlefields all over the place. We have slave cemeteries that are like overgrown and like still not yet discovered. There's like a lot here. I mean, there's a lot most places, but I'm speaking to where I grew up and where I live and what I experience, and there's a lot here. And a lot of times what we're experiencing is not a disembodied spirit that hasn't like crossed to the light. A lot of times, more often than not, it's going to be an imprint of trauma, almost like a shadow or like a memory that got it, because what was happened was so energetically like intense, it leaves an imprint that people can sense. Even if you don't think you're sensitive, we are all sensitive. We all have the ability to sense this stuff in some way, shape, or form. Like, we're literally designed that way. Like, we can sense things. And so usually it's going to be the imprint of trauma. And what I do in that case, you don't have to do this, but what I do when I'm feeling fortified and strong and nourished is I first witness what happened. That means I'm usually sitting there sobbing, feeling what happened there. It can be intense. So again, if you're not equipped to do this, if this does not sound like fun for you, if it sounds like it's gonna like wreck your day or like lead to very poor mental health, like don't do it. I'm someone who's lucky to feel very like nourished and supported a lot of the time. And I've done intense like work with trauma and like how to work with trauma, how to move through trauma. And so I feel comfortable and trained to be able to do this work. So I sit there and I witness it. I feel it. It literally replays through me. I will cry. I will bear witness to what happened because it's gotten imprinted and it's there and it deserves to be acknowledged. The trauma deserves to be acknowledged. And so after I witness it, I just get would you like to be cleared? Would this trauma like to be released? Would the land like this trauma to be released? Whatever is holding that imprint. Sometimes it's like an actual building structure. Sometimes it's the land. Sometimes it is a spirit, right? That's still like holding that trauma in that place because no one witnessed it. And it was important to that spirit that their trauma is witnessed. So I witness the trauma and then I ask if it would like to be cleared. Sometimes it says no, and I respect that. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Like, I'm gonna go on about my way, and I'm gonna go like Reiki myself, or go get a massage, or go get some acupuncture, or do something to support myself right now, because that was intense, you know? I've gone to my massage therapist like sobbing, like, oh my God, this thing happened and it was so intense, and I have a great team of practitioners and friends that keep me going. So again, don't do this stuff if you're not supported. You have to resource yourself. But a lot of times it will say, okay, yeah, thanks. I needed someone to pay attention to me. I'm ready to go now. Like, yes, the land will be like, yes, I'm ready to release this. And so then I just like invite love into the space. I experience love as a very high frequency of energy that's very profound and strong. And I invite in like the highest frequency of love possible to come through. And sort of like when I Reiki, I just like feel it like coming out of my heart. Sometimes I put my hands on the spot. Other times I don't. I just sit there. Sometimes I like sit in like a prayer position. Sometimes I need to go into child's pose. Like I just feel what is needed. And I like let my love pour into the land. I invite my guides. I invite the angels. I invite all the love that can come into the space. The trees around, the grass, like the earth itself is like supporting this. And so we just infuse the space where the imprint was with love. And it doesn't work if I don't witness it first. I learned that like sometimes I would feel like the trauma, but I wouldn't want to like witness it, which again is fine. Like I don't have to do that. No one's making me witness trauma all around the world. But a lot of times I'm able to, so I do now, but I used to like feel it and be like, oh, that's like intense and bad and gnarly, like not going there. And I would just try to like push love, like, oh, love, love the land, like love the trauma, like love it away, love, but love isn't a pushing energy. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Like the love will go out and but it won't release the imprint, right? It won't dissolve it. It won't help it clear. So that doesn't work. Like at least in my experience. Again, other people have their own experiences. People do this work all over and have amazing stories. And I think it's helpful to compare stories and hear other people's stories too. I'm just sharing what I've experienced, and you might have your own unique experiences with things. I'm not claiming to be an expert in this. I'm just someone that's done this a lot. So, bye Patty, thanks for being here. So this talk took a different turn than I was expecting, but thanks guys. They did want me to talk about trauma imprint. So if you encounter trauma imprint, and sometimes it's not trauma, it might just be like, well, it's usually trauma, actually. Like, what's less than trauma that's, like, just kind of sad and funky? Sometimes it is just kind of funky. Like, literally, I've had experiences where the architecture was just really weirdly designed that the energy of the space gets, like, constantly, like, stuck and diverted in a weird way because it's, like, just poor design. In which case, please reach out to my friend Laura Greiner. She's an excellent feng shui person, and she can come help. If you can't change the architecture of your house, she knows things you can do to just help create a more harmonious flow of energy. But sometimes it's not there's trauma there, it's just the energy has been wonked by like a man-made structure, or sometimes a natural, like something happens to the land and it changes how the energy used to flow, and it can create like a weird feeling in the place. Like some people, again, most of us are more sensitive than we realize, and so sometimes what you're feeling, if it feels weird or almost like irritated or like feeling, sometimes it's just because it's like bad design. The energy isn't able to flow in the most harmonious way, and you can feel that too. So it's not always ghosts or spirits. Sometimes it's literally just the flow of energy and you're feeling it being wonked. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up, but if y'all have more questions, message them to me. And I hope y'all have a good weekend. It's the full moon on Sunday, and yeah, hang in there. All right, bye.